It is important that I get to these questions ASAP because a lot just changed. We just got updates with Rashee Rice, Matthew Stafford, Quinshon Judkins. And before we answer the questions over there on the site, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go ahead and update our rankings because here I know this is going to be a big thing that we're all using this weekend. And also all night tonight, I'm going to be looking at our new rankings, getting them on the updated sheets for y'all, updating all the ADP. So if you're using any draft sheets this weekend, you should be good. So just in case you did not get a chance to see everything that happened today, first thing is Isaiah Bond signed with the Browns. Charges were dropped for Isaiah Bond. The Browns apparently just don't care who's with their team. They're going to allow anybody in the building. And ultimately, are you excited about Isaiah Bond? Hell no. I mean, really, nobody in Cleveland outside of the GOAT, Cedric Tillman, should be draftable. But we'll get to Judkins in a second. So McVay says Matthew Stafford will work out on Saturday. Hopefully his back responds a little bit better. So as you can tell, I'm a little bit sunburnt. We spent all day outside determining the Flock League draft order today. I'm not going to tell you where I'm picking just yet. Hold off a bit. But this will be something that is very important for the Flock League draft on Saturday night and very important for your draft on Saturday night. If you are looking at Puka, if you are looking at Kyron, if you are looking at Devontae Adams, we really need to see what the situation is going to be with Matthew Stafford. If Stafford tries to go out there and practice, they have to pull him and he's not good to go, I will move Puka and Devontae Adams down my rankings. Let's move past this and let's see if we have anything else here before we get to the Rashee Rice and the Quinshon Judkins stuff. So I guess you can say Travis Hunter snaps through 15 camp practices, offense 188, defense 176. So they are legitimately getting him on both sides of the ball. So I'm not going to be moving Travis Hunter up my rankings. Don't care about a Kenny Pickett injury. It is pretty much irrelevant. But Shefty says Rashee Rice is likely to play the first 4 games of the season. Expected to have disciplinary hearing on September 30th. So why this is meaningful is if we're going to look at a couple different things. One, the entire range of outcomes with Rashee Rice, where maybe expectations are Rashee Rice is going to get suspended from 4 to 6 weeks, but that's not a guarantee. If you get Rashee Rice a 10-game suspension, which I know sounds crazy, but there's not a 0% chance that happens. But if Rashee Rice isn't going to see a suspension until maybe week 5, week 6, if it's on the longer side, you may have Rashee Rice suspended going into the fantasy playoffs. Now, I would say that's unlikely. I think that more likely than not, you are going to see Rashee Rice closer to the 4 to 6 games mark based off everything that I've read. But if you're looking at missing, say, weeks 5 through 9, there are a lot of bye weeks in there. As opposed to if you're missing weeks 1 through 5, you're not dealing with as many buys. You're not dealing with as many injuries. So I personally think this Rashee Rice news is negative. I am not going to be moving Worthy down my rankings for this. With Rashee Rice, I previously had him here, wide receiver 27, right in the same tier as like Jameson, George Pickens, Waddle, Travis Hunter, DJ Moore, Sutton, Tet, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf. I think there's a massive tier of these wide receivers. I'm not going to be moving Rashee Rice down my personal rankings like behind George Pickens or anything. Completely understand if you want to. I feel like I was already maybe a little lower on Rashee Rice than the market, at least in like underdog drafts. I know this dude goes at the beginning of the 4th. And in the Flock League draft on Saturday, I will be interested to see where he goes, but my expectations would be that he's probably sliding to the 5th round at this point. Now, let's move over to Quinshon Judkins. And let me find an official statement from Adam Shefty for y'all for Judkins, because this is going to be the most meaningful thing that came out today. Obviously, the Rashee Rice stuff is absolutely massive. But if we are looking at Judkins, this was a running back that y'all know I was drafting before all the news came out. And I was quote unquote buying the dip, getting made fun of in live streams consistently, saying, well, you know what? I'm drafting in tournaments that have a ton of money to the very top. Don't draft scared. Go out there and swing for the fences. So Jordan Schultz says, sources, Browns rookie running back Quinshon Judkins will not face any formal charges as prosecutors have declined to move forward with the case. This clears the way for him to return to the team, and I'm told that should likely happen in the near future. So thank God I've been drafting this much Quinshon Judkins. I know it's kind of crappy to put my own personal needs or whatever the hell you want to call them in this. We have Quinshon Judkins kind of as a mid RB3 at this point. So I think Judkins is probably just good to go this year. Now, he missed a lot of valuable time. We are not that far from the season. We're like 3 weeks away. So I'm not going to move him to where we had him previously. I'm not going to be moving Quinshon Judkins up to like the Caleb Johnson range. I do think you can view him in this tier probably ahead of like Brian Robinson, maybe ahead of Joe Mixon based off the injury, and view Quinshon Judkins as a mid RB3. So we'll go ahead. We'll move Judkins to pick RB 28. And I'm going to be updating all the overall rankings for all your league formats. I'm going to be working on the draft sheets like a freaking madman tonight. I am probably not going to be going to bed until 3 a.m. because we got a long night to update those sheets. And also, we're going to send out that email to everybody who used promo code FLOCK on Underdog and made that $10 deposit to get the sheets that way. And then tomorrow as well, I'm going to make sure that on the site, we have the 2025 Flock draft sheets. Everything will be updated here. So if you just have a site membership, just go over there and you can access all the updated sheets. Again, I know we've showed this 1,000 times at this point, but if you are wanting access to the sheets, you can just get them on the site. You can get Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo, or another platform. Your exact league settings, a super flex as well, non-PPR, PPR, full PPR, start 7, start 8. For the Flock League, just to let y'all know, I'm going to be using these sheets. And this is something that I care about more than anything else in the world. My sheet for the Flock League is going to be page 44. And that will be updated tonight. I'm going to be grinding away all night at it because I need it for my draft on Saturday. And I'm sure some of y'all need it for your drafts as well. But let me go ahead and let's answer some of these questions on the site. We have a lot of them. I know a lot of people have drafts this weekend. We have some questions regarding trades. We have some questions regarding what happened today. And also we have some keeper decisions that we need to be making. Alex asking how much the draft sheets are. I'm sorry if you've heard me say this 1,000 times, everybody, but the season pass for flockfantasy.com this year is actually cheaper than it's ever been. The site is 10,000 times better than it's ever been. We're investing way more into it. I would say very selfishly, very biased. It's by far and away the best fantasy football deal you're ever going to have. $34 gets you access to all those sheets I had posted, access to all my weekly rankings and rest of season rankings all the way until January 1st. Every single tool that is on flockfantasy.com, and there are a lot of them, and access to all the other creators on flockfantasy.com, not just myself, and there are a lot of them. It's $34 one time. Not a subscription. You get everything until January 1st. And on top of that, if you use promo code FLOCK, I'm going to be answering your start sit questions and your trade questions for free in the live stream, which, as you can tell, I live stream every single day. Going to live stream every single day till Christmas. And this is what those live Q&As are going to look like. Now, let's move this over. And I will say this before we get to the questions. Saram says, you're doing all right. You boys work out your draft spots. You happy with yours? I'm ecstatic with my draft spot. If y'all saw the best place to choose in fantasy drafts video, you may know where I wanted to pick. And I'm not going to tell y'all exactly how it turned out. I'm not going to tell you exactly where I'm picking from, but the video on the Flock League channel should come out hopefully tomorrow. I think that's what the plan is at the moment. And I am so damn excited for that to happen. And I will be watching that with everybody else that's in Austin. Of course, we have a bunch of people that made it. And if y'all want to see where that video is going to be posted, it's the Flock League channel. Okay. But let's move over and let's start answering some of these questions. Flea Nice says 12-team PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receiver, a flex, 2 running back, 1 tight end, 1 defense. I have the 103 pick. What sheets tab do I use? It's on CBS. So first off, as I pull this up, my friend, really do appreciate you. Let me hook you up with a couple free vouchers. You should have a Also, if you already bought the season pass, you should have a bunch of free trade questions and free start set questions. But let me give you some additional ones just to make sure you have enough to get you through the year. But anyway, let me pull up these sheets. So this is a 12-team full PPR where it is 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 flex. So that is going to be a start 7 league. If you only start 1 flex, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, that's a start 7. And if you're on CBS, you're going to be using the other sheets. So it's a 12-team PPR start 7. You're going to be using page 43, which is right before the page I'm using, page 44. My page, the difference that I'll have in my draft, since it's a double flex, is the wide receivers and running backs are going to be a little more important, and the quarterbacks and tight ends are going to be moved down the rankings just a bit. Now let's move this over to Chalk Milk. 18 PPR start 7. What strategy should we use through rounds 1 and 5? Are we going to take a tight end to round 3 or a tight end to round 2, and then a quarterback in round 4 or a quarterback in round 3? 18 PPR start 7. It will be so easy for you to find wide receiver production. I want to be looking at an elite quarterback. I want to be looking at an elite tight end, and preferably a 3-down bell cow. Now, if you were looking at a sheet to use, here's what I would do. We don't have an 8-team sheet posted, but what you can use instead is you can use that 10-team sheet and then move wide receivers even further down. So use one of these 10-team PPR start 7 sheets, move wide receivers even further down. You're going to be able to get so many late that you can be really excited about. I would be completely fine taking Brock Bowers in the 2nd. I would be completely fine taking Josh Allen in the 3rd. And then obviously you can just hammer in running backs and wide receivers in the middle rounds. Now let's move this over. Tiny Dancer, a longtime member of the Flux, says redraft 10-team at PPR start 7, drafting 10th, keeping Puka in the 11th. How are we going to build our team? Can't make my live draft. How can I best prep my proxy? So honestly, if you're drafting from your computer, maybe less fun, but honestly easier, because you can just delete straight off the Google Sheets if you need, rather than just crossing them off. So I would say half PPR start 7, 10-team league. One, the sheet that you're going to use just quickly, if you're drafting on ESPN, you're going to be using the half PPR 10-team start 7. That's going to be page 3 on ESPN. It's page 15 for Sleeper, page 27 for Yahoo, and all the way down the line. But especially if you're going to get Puka in the 11th round, it becomes that much more important for you to possibly start running back. So if you're able to go ahead, if you're able to build around like Devon Achane, Ashton Jeanty, Derrick Henry, Ashton Jeanty, obviously some of those players at the very top are going to be kept. So maybe you're looking at worse options there. And instead we should be looking at those guys that typically go in the middle of the 2nd round, which again, I think there's a chance that you get Achane. But instead, if you're having to go ahead and reach on like Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, it would be ideal for you to go running back there at the 1-2 turn. And then I think you can afford an elite quarterback or an elite tight end there at the 3-4 turn, because you get the anchor wide receiver in a format where there's going to be plenty of wide receiver depth to go around. But let me see. Let me hook you up with a couple free trade questions and stuff. That way, just if you need anything to follow up with during the year, I got you, my guy. But let me move this over. Sammy says, what difference does the platform make in the player ranking? So if you're looking at the sheets, there going to be no difference between like, this is a 10-team half PPR start 8, ESPN. So if you look at the Yahoo 10-team half PPR start 8, my ranking's going to be the exact same. But what we do is we actually take the average between my ranking and the platform that you're drafting on. We get an ADP plus average rank, and that determines your power ranking. So you can adjust and you can find values on your platform while not having to reach significantly. So my rankings themselves, the platform doesn't matter, but it matters in the order you should be looking at players. But Max sent in a trade question where we are sending George Pickens in favor of getting Loveland. And this is a dynasty trade. So this is an absolute no-brainer. For the love of God, you take Colson Loveland and you run for the hills. You are easily winning that. Now, B Stains coming through with our next question. Says Chase Brown or an elite quarterback with an Achane and Nico Collins start. Honestly, I'd be completely fine with either. I think a lot of it's going to come down to your league settings. If it's a double flex format, give me Chase Brown for sure. If you know your league mates are going to push up quarterbacks and you know that, hell, somebody's going to take Josh Allen and then they're going to be fine taking CJ Stroud later on. Everybody's going to take 2 quarterbacks. Then there you probably are a little more incentivized to grab the elite QB. But I do have Chase Brown ranked over the elite quarterback in the vast majority of my rankings. Now, Hude says, pick 1 keeper, Bijan in the 2nd, Jaden in the 12th, or Chase Brown in the 9th. So if it's a 1-player keeper, we are going to assume that a 2nd-round pick is kind of equivalent to a 3rd-round pick. And if that's going to be the case, what we want to do is we want to go through and throw this in the trade calculator. So the 2nd-round pick, if it's closer to a 3rd-round pick, say you're going to get somebody like Garrett Wilson there, right? So the question is, with the opportunity cost that you have with this keeper, would you rather have, let's say, Chase Brown and Garrett Wilson, or would you rather have Bijan and then whatever player that you're going to be getting in the 9th, if that makes sense, with the opportunity cost to keep Chase Brown? And if we're looking at the player that you're going to get in the 9th, I don't even know if it frankly matters. Maybe we just say you're going to get Egbuka. And if we plug this into the trade calculator, it's saying you would rather have Bijan Robinson. So for me, I'm actually going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Bijan side of this, but completely understand if you didn't want to go with the higher cost. I think 9 times out of 10, you want to get the best player. Unless you know your league mates and you think it's going to be super hard to draft against them. Michael, welcome to being a mother flocker, my friend. And I am sorry that I know I'm sunburnt. I know I'm still more beautiful than Avery. Not only am I sunburnt, but I was wearing face paint as well. So you can see maybe some black stuff, but we've been grinding away. Risky Amp is asking for an infinite blueprint. My friend, you're going to have to message the domain guys on Discord. They are your guys, not me. And I'm not going to let y'all know what pick I got in the Flock League. Y'all can see the video when it comes out tomorrow. And tomorrow we will be spazzing mock drafts from that spot. I'll tell you that much. Now, the Dome Zone says lineup is HN, Connor, Brian Thomas Jr., Evan, Sutton, and DJ Moore. So if you have your team linked with the site, I can actually just pull up your entire team in your entire league. So you won't even have to type that out, my friend. So just definitely go to the My Teams page on the site and link your team. But anyway, if you can trade James Conner, Brian Thomas, and go get Jahmyr Gibbs, this is a clear win. Again, going ahead and looking at what we have with the trade calculator on this. It doesn't matter if this was redraft. Doesn't matter if this is dynasty. It is redraft, but I mean, dynasty, it may even be a little bit more exciting. But you go ahead and plug this in. You will see that it's not a no-brainer. Brian Thomas is still a very exciting option, but the trade calculator does have you winning this, especially if you're sitting also with Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, DJ Moore. I think you can afford it. Now, Quagga says, a 14-team half PPR, double flex, pick 9. What are your thoughts on running back? Half PPR format in comparison to a full PPR, running backs get a slight bump. 14-team league, running back's going to be very hard to come by. So pick 9. If you wanted to go ahead, if you wanted to just lock in a running back there, I'm not going to fault you at all for it. Especially in a 14-team league, pick 9. On the way back around in the middle of the second, you may be looking at like Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. And if you wanted to go running back, supply and demand, it's going to be very hard to find enough running backs there. Braden says no super chats, question mark. If you wanted to send in a super chat, you always can on flockfantasy.com. We have it set up this way. That way, like y'all can link your teams and I can actually see your entire teams with trades. And it's just so much easier because also whenever I answer the question on flockfantasy.com, you get an email with the clip of me actually answering it. So like in the past, if you would super chat on YouTube and then I couldn't get to it in time and you left, you may miss it. Here, you're never going to miss it because it'll get sent to you. Okay. Chubby says, are you able to see sleeper keeper leagues to give recommendations? Can I email? Got the pass and ready to go. So if you wanted to send in a roster review, you can always do that on the site. And how you're going to submit your team is you just go to the My Teams page and then you can go ahead, hit add new league on the My Teams page, and then you have Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo. So with Sleeper, all you have to do is go to the URL on your desktop, and on your league, you can clearly find like an 8-digit code, copy and paste it, hit submit, and then it just automatically links the entire league for you. Or on mobile, you just go into the settings, and you can find it there. And yeah, that way I can see everything for you. But let me hook you up with a free start set question, my friend. That way, whenever you have that linked, I can hopefully help you out with the lineup 1 week. But Grant says, I'm in a 12-team league, which opted to go for 14 versus 12. So we're now a 14-team league, wondering how to adjust draft plans. Scoring is with 6 points for a receiving touchdown and full PPR as well. So it's going to depend where you're drafting, but I would say in general, in a 14-team league, one thing that I would really look to do is I would actually punt tight ends. I would really try to build around running back. I would really try to build around a wide receiver. I would make sure that you're going with the positions that there are a finite amount of them. And then also 14-team leagues can get a little wacky with the quarterback room if everybody decides that they want to roster two. So I just think because the other positions like running back are going to be harder to come by, maybe having the elite tight end like Bowers in the second round, it's a luxury that it's a much harder to afford in this context. Okay. Let's move this down. Season says, this is a massive dynasty trade here specifically. Smooth this over so we can get this all in. Because we even have T. Higgins here at the bottom. So looking at this, it's 2 first-round picks. Devon Achane, Puka Nacua, T. Higgins versus Trevor Etienne, Kenneth Walker, Jamar Chase, Nico Collins. You're going to hate me for doing this, but when you are looking at this many assets in it, with this much value, it's like you are trading a Lamborghini for a Ferrari and Trevor Etienne's a pack of gum. It doesn't matter if the pack of gum that you're going to get in the Ferrari or the Lamborghini, it's irrelevant. It's like you're buying a house and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not going to buy this house unless you leave the candle in it. So I'm going to just completely remove that. I'm going to completely remove Jalen Wright here as well, just so we can clean it up and see this deal a little bit better. So now if we're looking at it this way, would I rather have Puka Nacua or Nico Collins? I'd rather have Puka Nacua. Would I rather have Devon Achane or Kenneth Walker? I would rather have Devon Achane. Would I rather have T. Higgins or 2 future first-round picks? Kind of close. So for me, I think that you're going to win this deal for sure. I don't love the idea of trading away Jamar Chase, especially in a dynasty league with this shallow of a league overall. But we're going to run with it. Domain, I heard that y'all spoiled Danny's pick, but it's all good. It's all good. Danny was going to spoil it regardless. But let's move this over. Unruly Cal is trading Brees for A.J. Brown in a dynasty league. I think it's going to be a no-brainer. I think if we're looking at the impact that these players are going to make this season, I'm way more confident in saying that you are going to get the consistency from A.J. Brown. And with the life expectancy of these running backs versus wide receivers, I don't know if their 2026, 2027 outlook's that different. So I have A.J. Brown ranked ahead of Brees Hall myself in dynasty. Now, B. Johnson coming out says 12 team, 1 quarterback, 2 RB, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, super flex, double flex. Worried quarterbacks will go early, looking for a quarterback draft strategy. So if you have access to the sheets on the site, we do have the super flex sheets posted. Now, with that being said, I would actually not stress too much about quarterback here. The reason being is you can start up to 6 wide receivers weekly. If you can start up to 6 wide receivers weekly, and you're realistically probably starting 5 because obviously you're going to throw a quarterback at the super flex spot. Quarterback's not going to make up like a crazy high percentage of your starting lineup output. Like I've seen some super flex leagues where people decide, oh, okay, we're going to only start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and super flex. Then it's like, oh my gosh, you do the math. Quarterback's literally everything here. But you can win with wide receiver depth. So if you wanted to play it safe and you don't know where your quarterbacks are going to go in your league, if you get access to a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, go ahead and take them. Give yourself the flexibility where you can kind of just adjust halfway through the draft. Where if you see your league mates and you're like, oh, okay, where they're not going to be taking these guys anytime soon, then cool. You can wait to grab your second quarterback. But if you see them running, then maybe you go ahead and you grab like, say, Kyler Murray before they're all gone. Now, Cowboys fan says 12-team PBR double flex, round 1 and 2, HN and CMC are Nico and London. If you can get any of these three players, I'm chilling. Like, I would absolutely love you to start Achane and CMC, CMC and Nico, Achane and Nico. If it's a double flex full PPR format, I probably would like to get one of the receivers. Like, I think maybe CMC and Nico Collins would be my plan A. Plan B, maybe Achane instead of CMC. But starting running back wide receiver here, I think would be ideal. But if you wanted to just have to pick one of these sides, I would go with the running backs over the receivers. Now, JSAB says, I'm in a 10-team full PPR keeper league. Would you keep Neighbors in the 4th or Achane in the 6th? Or Achane in the 2nd? We're picking 6 currently. So for me, I do have Neighbors and Achane in the same tier. 10-team league, if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, and you look at my rankings, I would probably go ahead and I'd probably just take the running back. But ultimately, it's close enough where it makes a lot of sense for you to just go ahead and get the guy with the cheaper cost and go and take Neighbors. Now, Nanope says, hey, Mason, in a 10-team app PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, double flex league, do the values of the tight ends on the draft sheets change? If you do not have to start a tight end, you do not draft a tight end. Obviously, if you get like Brock Bowers in round 3 or 4, if you get Trey McBride in round 4 or 5, you get George Kittle in round 5, then yeah, let's go ahead and let's do it. But yes, all those like low-end tight end ones become absolutely useless. I'm not interested in them at all. So yes, I'm sorry I don't have a sheet posted for the leagues that don't have to start a tight end, but in general, I'd say if you don't have to start one, just don't draft one. Now, Sam, always happy to see us, says, teams aging, what are you thinking on this and any other help? So this is going to be a dynasty trade, everyone. It's going to be a 10-teamer. Looking at our team and our ability to still contend this year, we have Baker, Herbert, so we're chilling at quarterback. Running back, we're going to be sitting with, after this deal, Amari and Hampton, Joe Mixon. Wide receiver, we have like Tyreek Evans, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, so we can contend at receiver, but adding JSN would be nice. And then we have Goddard at tight end. So overall, I do think that you're probably okay leaning over and pivoting over to a rebuild if you wanted to. But if you make this trade, I think you have to fully commit to it. So I would then follow up and see if we can throw Mike Evans on the trade block. And for that reason, let me see if they have another rebuilding piece that would be interesting. So they have Genty Gibbs at running back, going over and looking at what they have at receiver. They have like Marvin Harrison. Is there a world in which we can ask them to add in Marvin Harrison and we add in like Tyreek and Mike Evans? It's probably not getting us there. Maybe we can add in like Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown. Especially if you can, they have Loveland. Is there any world which you can get Loveland? I know this is probably not happening, but can we also add in DK Metcalf and get Loveland? Like if we wanted to fully pivot over to a rebuild, I think that this would be a very exciting swap with them. But as the trade stands now, I think it's fine if you wanted to go for the rebuild, but I think you would need to be looking to sell those veterans almost regardless anyway. Now, Aaron coming through says 12-team full PPR, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex, 9th pick. Are we going to go Nico or Amon-Ra St. Brown? So I personally have them ranked right in the same tier, pretty much back to back. I think you can go any direction with this. Just looking at the expert average ranks on the site, you will see that Amon-Ra St. Brown is ahead of Nico Collins. If you go ahead and you pull up my rankings specifically, you'll see that I have St. Brown at 8. I have Nico Collins at 11. This will obviously change slightly depending on the league settings that you are drafting with. But for your league settings, I mean, if we're just going wide receiver, it stays about the same. So I think you'd go ahead and you take Amon-Ra St. Brown. At least I would. Now, Floyd's Vlog says, keep 10 or a keeper, 10-team PPR. Allen. Okay, play around. So Josh Allen in the 4th, Cortland Sutton in the 11th, or Chuba Hubbard in the 14th. I'd go Chuba in the 14th over Sutton in the 11th. I think it comes down to Josh Allen in the 4th or Chuba in the 14th. And realistically, I think that if you're looking at where Josh Allen would naturally go in a 10-team league, Allen's probably going to go in round 3. And if we're looking at, say, Chuba Hubbard's probably going to be going in round 5 or round 6 of a 10-team league specifically. So I don't know if you're getting that much of a value bump when we're looking at Josh Allen here. So I think I actually go with Chuba Hubbard. But Sam coming through. This is DJ Moore, Khalil Shakir, Mark Andrews versus Malik Neighbors, Evan Ingram. It's a 14-team league. Actually, no, this isn't linked, so maybe you just put in those league settings wrong. But regardless, I would go ahead and I would just take Malik Neighbors and Evan Ingram. I'd rather have Andrews over Evan Ingram, but it's close, and I'd way rather have Malik Neighbors over DJ Moore and Shakir. Now, Julian coming through with the start-sit question. How the hell did we get a start-sit question already? It is August 14th. If I'm having a guess who we are starting here week 1, Trevion obviously is exciting long-term. Week 1, it's a little shaky. Josh Downs just got the hamstring. I have no idea what these matchups are week 1, to be honest with you. I would probably go Downs in Trevion. I think I'm starting Trevion Henderson week 1 over Dobbins, even if we expect Ramadre to still be there. Okay, let's move this over to our next question. This next one coming from Jay Chavez says, keepers lad in the 10th. Should we go with RB in our first 2 rounds? If you're playing in like a full PPR double flex format, I think you have the flexibility where you can still continue to hammer in some of these wide receivers early. But if you're playing in like a 10-team league where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, while we still kind of want to be going through and we still want to be going best player available, I wouldn't mind at all if you wanted to pivot over and you lean heavier in on running back. Now, Thomas says, should we drop Chuba for Braylon? Oh, Chubb for Braylon. Oh, okay. If it's a full PPR format, here's my thought process. If Breece Hall is traded, Braylon Allen has a significantly higher ceiling than what you would see with Nick Chubb. Like, Joe Mixon's out. Nick Chubb's definitely startable. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think Nick Chubb's winning you your league. Breece Hall gets dealt. Braylon Allen could potentially win you your league. Now, with that in mind as well, Breece Hall's currently healthy where Joe Mixon is not. So I think Nick Chubb is way more likely to be your starting running back week 1, or to be a starting running back week 1 than Braylon Allen is, but Braylon Allen has a higher ceiling if it were to occur. So I would take Braylon if you think Breece gets traded. However, if you think Breece is going to still be in New York, then I'm probably not doing it. Now, let me move this up. And let's see if we have any more questions. We do have questions waiting for us here, so let's pull this back around. AM Stud says, auction draft, $200 budget with keepers. Standard scoring is, it's a 2 wide receiver single flex league. Keep Lamb at 56 or Achane at 22. Leading Achane for the value. Hook him, my friend. So yeah, Lamb here would take up about 25% of your budget. Actually, even a little bit more than that. You'd be closing in on like 30% of your budget if you were to go with Lamb at 56, where you're looking at Achane hovering around 11%. So I would actually keep Achane here at $22, my friend, but for the hook 'em, let me throw you over a free trade question just in case you have anything with this team for us later on. But yeah, 99% of the time, I would say just go ahead and keep the best player. But here, HN still, in my mind, a borderline round 1 pick in fantasy this season, and you're getting him at half the cost. I think you go HN. Now, Jay Colley, always happy to see us, says 10-team PPR, keep Nico at the 301 or Chase Brown in the 10th. We got to pick one, taking Bijan because Jamar was kept. So this is an interesting case. So if we're keeping Nico at the 301, so that's pick 21, but if everybody has a keeper, we're going to assume that that's actually probably closer to like pick 26 or so. So let's say this is like Ladd McConkey and Chase Brown versus Nico Collins, because that would be the comparable. Because if you're looking at Chase Brown in the 10th, Chase Brown is going to be, a 10th round pick is completely useless. I don't want to say it's useless, but you are more likely to cut your round 10 pick for a waiver wire option than he is to be a true difference-making player for you. Like, the players at the top just matter so much more. So if we go ahead and we look at just the opportunity cost by plugging this into the trade calculator, we look at like Chase Brown and Ladd McConkey versus Nico Collins. I would actually assume that this is going to be on the Brown and McConkey side, which it is. So again, I do stand by. I think 99% of the time you want to go ahead and you want to keep the best player available. But in this instance, I think we go ahead and we actually take Chase Brown in the 10th rather than Nico at the 301. Maybe if you were picking at the very end of the first round, where instead of that being the 301, it was the 310, I think that'd be a little more exciting. Willard Royce's keeper league, Lamb in the 2nd or Kittle in the 7th. So let's do that same exercise. So 2nd round pick, if it's a keeper format, it's more like a 3rd, but let's say it's like Ladd McConkey and George Kittle versus CeeDee Lamb. I think that is a comparable opportunity cost of that 2nd round pick in a keeper leagues like Ladd. And then if we're looking at Kittle in the 7th, let's say that's like Ricky Pearsall. That'd be the guy that you're taking there instead. So like, would you rather have CeeDee Lamb and Ricky Pearsall, or would you rather have George Kittle and Ladd McConkey? According to the trade calculator, it is leaning with the CeeDee Lamb side of things. If you go ahead and look at my values with this instead, maybe it's a little bit closer. We still do have CeeDee Lamb as the winner. So I think this is probably one of those instances where you do just go with the best player and you go with Lamb. Now, DK's Burner says, auto Jonnu round 7. You auto Jonnu Smith round 7, are you saying? Can pick up Lawrence, Bryce, Geno, have Penix, also have Waller, starting Kenneth Walker and Amari and Hampton. So we are picking up Kincaid, who obviously has upside, but ultimately, if you're telling me the waiver wire option at quarterback is Lawrence, give me Mahomes. Like, I am 100% team, like, hey, either draft your elite quarterback or wait until the very end to get somebody. But this is probably the instance that we want to be going with Patrick. Jimmy says, do we have time for a team review, or are you going to log off soon? To be completely honest with you, I don't know if I can answer a team review. I don't know if I can do a team review while everybody's still in Austin. I just am so damn busy with everybody here that the team reviews are probably going to have to wait until everybody leaves on Monday. So I'm answering all these questions because I know people have drafts this weekend and they need their keeper stuff dealt with. But I'm probably going to hold off on doing the team reviews until Monday, to be honest. But we're going to do drafts after this. Now, Oily Duster says, 14 team, full PPR, pick 6. I can't decide if I should go CMC or Lamb. Any other tips you have? So 14 team league, running back, we need a push up. If you can get Lamb, though, Lamb, in my opinion, is inside the top 5. Like, I think that he is in a completely different tier than McCaffrey, even if we have to push up running backs. So what I may be willing to do here is 14 team league. If you ended up taking, say, CeeDee Lamb at pick 6, when you're back up on the clock in the middle of the 2nd round, I think you just reach on Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown. I think you just make sure you get a running back in that range. And that way you have some type of flexibility, but you're still able to take the best player available with CeeDee Lamb at the very top. Okay. But Sean, welcome to being a motherflocker, my friend. Now, Colton coming through. This is a trade. This is a dynasty trade where we're sending Metcalf and Waddle for Ladd McConkey. Dynasty format, give me Ladd McConkey here for sure. Redraft league, kind of depend on the league settings, but especially this looks like a 10-teamer. So if this is a 10-team league, please just give me Ladd. Josh says 18-team PPR start 8 format. So this is an incredibly deep league. Like, I am always in favor of adding an extra flex spot. Like, the flock league's double flex. It's not single flex. However, if you're in an 18-team league, I think you're already going deep enough where if you wanted to make it a single flex format, I'm not going to fault you at all. Like, this is going to make things extremely difficult. You're saying, would your cheat sheets still work? Okay. I'm going to be completely honest with you, my friend. I don't think so. Let me go ahead and let me pull up the deepest cheat sheet that we have. If it was a single flex league, I think maybe we could say the cheat sheets would work. The issue is if you're telling me you are pick 18 and you have to make a decision. Let's look at like some of the deepest sheets. So let's look at page 8. This is an ESPN 12-team start 8 format. If you are pick 18 and you're going pick 18, 19 here at the turn, you're going to have 35 picks before you're on the clock again? We're not going to be on the clock again until pick like 48? So our next options are going to be like DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Avonta Smith, Sam Laporta. Realistically, I would expect the running backs to fly. So like where my sheets may say like, oh, you want to take Drake London over Josh Jacobs, the Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving. I would say you may have no other option. You may need to just take Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs if they're there. You may need to just take Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs. You may need to just take Chase Brown, Bucky Irving. I wish I could say like, oh yeah, you just use this sheet, make some small adjustments. But no, 18-team league, especially if you're picking at the turn, it is a completely different beast, to be honest. But I'm wishing you the best of luck, my friend, for sure. Now, ATC Foss says 10-team PPR redraft starts 7, and running backs get 0.2 point per rush. Here's what I would do if I were you. 0.2 point per rush is going to be crazy. So here's the adjustment that you need to make, and I actually think a sheet's going to be suitable for you. So if this is a PPR 0.2 point per carry, I would almost treat it as if it's a non-PPR league. All the top scorers in your league are going to be running backs. We want to be building around RBs. I'm not prioritizing wide receivers. So when you're talking about adjusting the sheets, I would be using the non-PPR 10-team start 7. So like an example of this is you'd be using page 5, where you can see you just move these running backs up a crazy amount. And with that in mind, the difference between this sheet and what you should be doing and a 10-team non-PPR is I think you don't value the elite tight end like this. I would be moving tight ends down, but also you want to be moving quarterbacks up. Like if you get Josh Allen around 18, let's go for it. As one thing that people don't really adjust for when we are looking at, say, a point per carry format is if we are taking into account the quarterback rushing. Because Lamar's going to go out there and run the ball a bunch. Josh Allen's going to go out there and run the ball a bunch. And we already know that you're going to be getting points for their yards, points for their rushing touchdowns, but you're also getting points for their carries as well. So use the 10-team non-PPR sheet. Don't use the PPR sheet. And at the same time, push the tight ends a little bit down and hammer possibly an elite quarterback that gives you rushing upside, and obviously build around the running backs. Now, Hogan says, new season, waiting for the mother flocker. Go Vols. Appreciate you, my friend. And I know you've been with us for so damn long. And hook 'em once. Well, we'll throw that up. Now, Desire Best says, got pick 103 in my main league, 10-team ESPN. Are we going to go wide receiver, running back? 10-team league, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Give me running back. If Chase falls, obviously we'll go Chase. But in this format, I'm going Bijan. In this format, I'm going Gibbs over CeeDee Lamb. But obviously, appreciate you, my friend, and excited to see you this weekend. And real quick, Desire Best will be at the Flock League meetup. I hope y'all are as well. You've heard me say this 1,000 times. But if you want to go to the meetup, you can see all the details on the screen. I will be there. Everybody from the Flock League will be there. It's August 17th, Austin, Texas. If you're in San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, Austin, anywhere in the Texas Triangle, I expect you there. And it's that you can see all the details. Pause the screen here. And completely free as well. Now, Nick says 12-team full PPR, 6-point passing touchdown, 3-player keeper. Keeping Jamar, pick 2 between HN, Puka, and Josh Allen. Oh, we're going to go Puka and HN. I know 6-point passing touchdown format. Maybe you think like, oh, just quarterbacks are way more valuable. Reality is the quarterbacks that get the bump are the guys that don't have a lot of rushing upside that have to rely on passing volume. It's like in a 4-point passing touchdown league, it's almost impossible for Joe Burrow to ever catch up to Josh Allen. Just because rushing touchdowns are worth 6 points. However, if you're drafting in, say, a 6-point passing touchdown league, those pocket passing options like Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, they can kind of catch up to the elite rushers. So I still definitely want Puka, HN, and Chase over Josh Allen. Not telling you not to push up Josh Allen's value. I'm just saying like it doesn't jump over Devon Achance. Now, Ray Charles says, Superflex draft on ESPN. Rankings in the draft lobby are regular PPR. How do you approach with the new mates to Superflex? So I'm sure you have the sheets if you're asking a question on the site. Just make sure, first thing is, here are the sheets. If it's a 10-team Superflex league, use page 50. If it's a 12-team Superflex league, use page 49. If you're telling me your league mates are not adjusted to the Superflex format at all, I would probably avoid going QB right out the gate. I would probably try to get an elite level quarterback if I could, and then read the room from that point. The reason it's very difficult to give Superflex advice in a redraft league is almost every redraft league, you have a different marketplace when it comes to quarterback value. Like, obviously, I have played in Dynasty League since 2014. My first time ever starting in a Superflex league was 2017. I've done Superflex for almost a decade. And the Dynasty community has a very concrete agreement on typically where these quarterbacks should be valued. But when it comes to redraft leagues, I'll talk to one of y'all and you tell me that 8 quarterbacks went in my round 1. I'll talk to another where people are saying no quarterbacks went in round 1. So it is difficult for me to give too much advice. I would say if you have no idea what your league mates are going to do and how your league mates are valuing the quarterback position, if you can get an elite guy in round 1 and then feel it out after that, that's probably what I would do. Now, Chubby says I'm linked up. OV thinking Henry Genty, round 1. Puka, round 2. Keeper, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. Round 3, Laporta Hawk. Round 3, Hurts Burrow. Best available for round 9 kicker. Did it last year and took second. Okay, so here's the thing that I think you are doing that's very bad, to be honest with you. Do not map out, I'm going to take this position in this round. I'm going to take this position in this round. Taking Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson in round 4 would be horrible. Maybe you already have a quarterback. Maybe you already have a running back. Maybe you already have a wide receiver. Take another running back. Take another wide receiver. You're going to get tight ends later on. You're going to get quarterbacks later on. So I don't like this idea. Definitely be looking at the rankings. Stay flexible. The best players available. What I would way rather you do, if you'd go, hey, Mason, man, I know my strategy. I know I really want to have a running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end with my first 4 picks in some order. In that case, what you need to do is you need to take Brock Bowers in the 2nd, or you need to take Bowers at the end of round 1, and then the elite quarterback in round 2 or round 3. The last thing I want you to do is wait until round 3 and take Burrow, and then round 4 and take Hawkinson. Because the wide receivers from round 2 to round 4, that drop will be a lot less than the drop from Brock Bowers to TJ Hawkinson. So I don't like this plan, to be honest. Congrats on taking second with it last year. But I would definitely, when you say rounds 5 through 8, best available, I think you start best available round 3. And you'd be way more flexible with this. But let me mark that as complete and see if we have any more questions before we dive into the drafts. Okay, we have a couple more coming out. Saram, always happy to see us, says, at the 104 and a start 7, 12-team PPR, we'll use the guide, of course, but who would you ideally take with the first 5 picks? Good luck in the Flock League. Smash it. Appreciate you, my friend. Start 7 league. I think you are very much in play to go Bowers round 2. So round 1, I think you go elite running back. I think you take Bijan, Barkley, Gibbs, and a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Round 2, I think you're in play to go Bowers. Round 3, I think you're in play to go Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. In this format, I'm okay not taking a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, especially if you think hey, my league mates, they draft kind of close to ESPN ADP, Yahoo ADP, Sleeper ADP, whatever you're drafting on. And I'm going to be able to get Marvin Harrison in the 4th round. I'm going to be able to get Egbuka in round 10. I'm going to be able to get Rome Odunze in round 7. Like, I'm fine with you getting the elite onesies and then in the middle rounds, just slamming these wide receivers. That's what I would be looking at. But let me hook you up with some free stuff, my guy. You know I appreciate you. Let's make sure we get a start sit question so I can see this team when you're done. But Bob Squared coming over says, contender looking for a trade target. What are your thoughts? So I actually moved Judkins up my redraft rankings already, but looks like I got to move him up the dynasty rankings as well. So we had moved Judkins down to RB21 in our dynasty ranks. Realistically, at this point, I would rather have Judkins over Henry, Chuba, Walker, Harvey, Caleb Johnson. I would put Judkins at RB16 in my dynasty rankings now. And 100%, you go Judkins in dynasty over Montgomery and Jalen Wright. Montgomery and Jalen Wright could effectively be zeros 12 months from now. And it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world if Judkins was a better option than Montgomery this season either. Now, Pube Jackman says, 2 of all, including tight end and flex. I'm thinking move up for a tight end or punt tight end. So if you're telling me that you have a double flex, double quarterback, double tight end league, tight end supply and demand is going to get massively thrown out of whack. What you need to make sure that you are doing is you need to make sure that you build around the tight end position. In my opinion, that's going to be more important than going and adjusting like wide receiver running back values. Because if you just look at the supply and demand of the tight end position, there are like 3 guys you feel very good about. And then after that, it is extremely shaky. So do not punt tight end. That's almost the exact opposite of what I'd be doing. In a league like this, I would be more likely to punt wide receiver. I would try to get strong tight ends. And if it's a 2 quarterback format, a strong QB as well, of course. Now, Johnsky says, I have Tyreek, JSN, Tet, CMC, Jordan Mason, Jacoby, and Mahomes. It's going to be a redraft format where we are selling Derrick Henry for A.J. Brown and Breece Hall. So we have a strong team overall, but is this team linked? Okay, by the way, for future reference, please link your team, and I can actually just see all the teams in your league. It makes it a lot easier for me, and I can give you a much better answer. And you don't have to type all this out. Just go to the My Teams page, hit add team, add new, and you can link your sleeper ESPN Yahoo League. And then you can also see a bunch of cool stuff on this page too. But with that in mind, I mean, for me, I do have A.J. Brown not ranked too far behind Derrick Henry. Obviously, there are serious concerns with Breece Hall, but at the same time, he still does have a lot of upside. So I'm going to go with Breece and A.J. Brown here. Now, Solar says, first auction dynasty tomorrow, Superflex full PPR. Do I care more about going for a quarterback or hammer wide receiver as we can start 5? So it sounds like this is going to be a start 10 total dynasty Superflex league. So I would for sure make sure that you're using the rankings on the sites, because there should be updated dynasty Superflex ranks for you. Even if you're not, I'm sure you're a paid member of the site. Even if you aren't, you can use the expert average for free. And definitely at least be using the expert average for sure. So my first dynasty startup ever was an auction. I think I've done 3 dynasty auctions before. And every time it is so different. And this is why I know a lot of people always say like, oh, you need to make auction videos. Why do we never talk about auctions? Auction. The reason I don't make auction videos, the reason I don't talk about auction leagues too much, is it is so difficult for you to go into your auction with one singular plan. You almost need to go in with the plan of, hey, I'm going to stay flexible and I'm going to try to just get the best options I can. So I wouldn't quote unquote hammer. I don't know what to tell you, to be honest. And for that reason, I'm sorry, but I'm going to send you a bunch of trade questions and start set questions, and hopefully I can help you out a bit. But I would say if this is a start 10 dynasty league, it's kind of the standard dynasty format, which is what the rankings on the side are. I wouldn't go overboard when you're looking at quarterback values unless it's like a 14-team league. If it's a 14-team league, 16-team league, then obviously you absolutely have to hammer in quarterbacks. But also I can't tell you like, oh, let's save your money till the end. Or let's go and just blow it all in the beginning. Because I've been in auctions where I save my money till the end, and all of a sudden other people did as well, and we are buying like RB2s for the same cost that the RB1s went early in the auction. And I've seen the exact opposite happen. I've seen where too many people blow their load early, and then all of a sudden these RB2s go for 5% of the cost what the RB1s went for. So I wish I could help you out more, my friend, but it's so hard to say much about an auction before it actually happens. Now, S-Bar says 12-team keeper PPR, start 11. Hawkinson, Shakir, Pierce. Oh, no, this is just not a start 11. This is keeper cost. Who are you keeping? Not sold on Hawk yet. So realistically, 11, 10, 10. A 10th round pick versus an 11th round pick, effectively hit rate wise, it's the same exact thing. It doesn't matter. So it's like, would you rather have Hawkinson, Shakir, or Ricky Pearsall? And for me, I would 100% go TJ Hawkinson in this instance. Last time we saw TJ Hawkinson fully healthy was the tight end 2 in points per game. The efficiency didn't fall off at all last year. The issue just was coming off a significant injury. They didn't have him out there on the field as much. So I would go ahead and I would just keep TJ Hawkinson, to be honest with you. I think Hawkinson will go much earlier in your draft than that keeper cost, and I can't say the same thing about the wide receivers and running backs. Now, Cold One's coming out with a massive dynasty trade. I think I answered one that looked very similar to this earlier. But I know we've made reference to this 1,000 times. I'm tired of hearing this analogy. But players like Ben Sinnott in these dynasty deals that are absolutely massive, right? We're talking about trading Puka Nacua for Trevion Henderson and Devon Achane. This is trading a Lamborghini for a couple Porsches, and Ben Sinnott is a pack of gum in one of the cars. It just frankly doesn't matter. So we can just kind of get off pieces. Same thing, the 4th round pick is a pack of gum. It doesn't matter. I would almost say, honestly, F it. Let's say the same thing with the 3rd round pick. It's so much easier to view it this way. And the other pieces make up 1% or less of the value. So if we're looking at this, give me Henderson over Jonathan Taylor, and then Achane and Jameson versus Puka. I'd probably rather have Puka. This is a very close deal. Let me go ahead and put this into the trade calculator. Let's see what the calculator says. They received Jonathan Taylor. And of course, this is going to be dynasty, ladies and gentlemen. So please make sure you're not going, oh, how the hell is this close? This isn't close. It's close in a dynasty league, at least in my opinion. Okay. So Shakir, Taylor, Puka versus Achane, Henderson, and Jameson. Let's hit submit here. It's saying the value lies with the Puka Jonathan Taylor side. For me, it depends on how much of an upgrade do you think Puka Nacua is over Achane. I guess you could say, well, Puka's the better short-term option and Puka's the better long-term option. If you're rebuilding, I'm fine with you going with the Trevion Henderson side. But I think you would immediately need to flip Devon Achane if that's the case. Okay, but I think we're probably going to call this live stream here. I'm going to end this and then fire up a draft where we are going to be drafting some underdog teams. And then I better get in a flock mock draft because we are getting very, 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 very close to the real deal, the flock league on Saturday. So I will end this and I'm going to set up a new live stream and I'm going to go live probably in about 5 minutes. And I hope to see you there and hope I get to draft with you there as well. And obviously, real quick, you can always get a season pass, flockfantasy.com. I'm sure you already know that. But get access to all the draft sheets, all the tools on the site. Get to ask me start set questions and trade questions for free. And it's $34 one-time payment, not a subscription. Get access to everything until January 1st. FlockFantasy.com. And if you wanted to ask me those start sit questions, trade questions, use code FLOCK. But that's all I got for you, and I hope I get to see you in like 5 to 10 minutes.